In a normal Minecraft world, dirt is one of the most plentiful resources. But for Skyblock, that's a different story. You might get a few stacks from mining all the islands, but for a long-term playthrough, that's not nearly enough. Luckily, there is a way to get infinite dirt. You can craft 2 gravel and 2 dirt blocks into 4 coarse dirt, which in turn can be used to get 4 dirt blocks. You can get gravel by bartering with piglins, but we need gold for bartering, and magma blocks to build a gold farm. The easiest way to get magma is by making a magma cube farm and crafting 4 magma cream into 1 block. So after gathering a few materials, let's get right into it. We need roughly 14,000 magma blocks for the gold farm, for which we need 56,000 magma cream. That might sound like a lot, but the farm is decently fast, so this shouldn't take too long. Well, that took a while. The farm is actually fairly efficient, but I want this gold farm to be really fast, so I need all the magma I can get. Other than magma, we also need a ton of obsidian, so I went to the end and mined an entire pillar down to the ground. Finally, we need a bunch of turtle eggs, which is a problem since passive mob spawning is a pain to deal with. And I also have no idea where to find a beach biome. So I made a copy of the world and flew around the spawn area until I found one very close to the former desert island. I actually didn't have to wait long for 2 turtles to spawn. So after a while, I got everything I needed for the gold farm. Does that mean I'm finally gonna build it? Nope. If we built the spawning platforms already, the pigmen would instantly fill up the mob cap, so we couldn't get any piglins unless we are really far away from the gold farm. But I want to build both farms right next to each other. So instead I started by building the piglin bartering farm. This is a really simple design I came up with that uses the player to throw all the drops into a portal that leads to the collection area. These 2 cells would contain a total of 30 piglins, which is enough to keep up with this observer clock, dispensing 5 items per second. The way we actually get the piglins is by building a small spawning platform with a bridge. Whenever zombie pigmen start to block the piglin spawns, we can attack one to aggro all of them, only for them to fall down into the void. Every now and then we can name some piglins and let them fall into the bartering farm. This process was really straightforward and didn't take long at all. And then finally we could actually start working on the gold collection area for the gold and bartering farm. Don't worry, the gold farm is next. The collection area itself is very simple. When the pigmen go through the portal, they die of fall damage and their drops end up in this water stream that's hooked up to some hoppers. The bartering collection area is pretty much the same, but to make sure there are no item losses, the items go through the collection area multiple times until they despawn. But enough of this. It's finally time to work on the gold farm, one of the biggest projects in this world so far. Let's go! And finally we had all the gold we could ever need. This allowed us to barter as much as we wanted, and I think the results after roughly 10 minutes speak for themselves. We now got infinite access to resources like blackstone, obsidian, soul sand, and most importantly gravel. Back at spawn, I used the gravel to craft dirt into coarse dirt over and over again, duplicating it every single time. Finally we got one of the most important resources we could get. But let's be real, this process of turning coarse dirt into path blocks and mining it takes way too long. So why don't we go ahead and build a block converter as the final farm of today. Basically how it works is that it drops an item from the storage every time you place a block. If you use an auto clicker, you got just enough time to place and shovel the dirt before it's pushed away. We then use a TNT duplicator to blow it up and a water stream to collect the dirt. Getting infinite dirt is a big achievement, so to celebrate it, let's build something with it. So I gathered all the materials I needed, including a diamond from an end city, and got to work. Before designing this build, I wasn't really that much into building, but for some reason that was different this time. Even designing the floating island was fun, even though I always struggled with terraforming. The house itself is smaller than I originally aimed for, but I actually think it's better this way. And also, don't let that distract you from how functional this base is. If you go inside, there's a bed and a bit of storage. But then in the basement there's a total of 60 barrels, plus some crafting stations. There's a few more workstations outside, but also in this smithing area, the furnaces and blast furnaces that make up the floor are connected to this barrel, essentially acting like some kind of semi-automatic super smelter. If you couldn't tell, I'm really happy with how this base turned out. Just as I was ready to log off and finish this episode, I noticed that a sheep, a cow, and a wandering trader spawn on the island, which reminded me that we could now easily get more passive mobs. But wandering traders are also a massive deal. They can sell moss and pointed ripstone, among other useful things. But let me know what you think I should do next in the comments. I hope to see you again next time. Goodbye.